Hello lovelies, I am coming to you from my caravan in Wales. I'm back at the van, hence the green table, and I wanted to do an update on the VR of divining like it's 2002, the tarot throwback tag to mixed disarray. I know I haven't been doing the challenge that long, but I thought at the van in the quiet before the madness of the new school year starts, I'd give an update on how I am going. Now, I thought it was quite interesting. What decks out of the challenge did I choose to pack for the van? First deck I packed was the Reclaim Oracle. I know it doesn't fit because it's a modern deck, but I did say in my response to Mistress Ray that I would still be using this because emotional literacy work has been really high up on the list of things to do this month I've needed to do. I've bought the Ancestral Path Tarot by Julie Cushia Watts, the lovely Julie, who I love very much, and I do class her as a friend. I bought Courtney Davis, the Celtic Tarot. This is the first edition. In here I've got my Brian Froud Fairy Oracle, which came with me in this sandwich bag next to this Ordnance Survey map, because this has been coming out on adventures in my backpack with me. I have the Gill Tarot and what fun we've had so far on this challenge, and also inside this bag lives this one, the Celtic Wisdom Tarot. The decks that I didn't pack which were on my list is the Celtic Oracle, which I have used but at home before I came to the caravan. I'll put some pictures in here of some of the times that's been used. Also the Osho Zen, which I decided I didn't feel like using this month. Was there anything else on there? I'm trying to think what I put in the tag. I'm sure there was one more. If there was anything else, I'll put it on the screen now. So I just thought it was really interesting what I packed to bring to the van, and I wanted to recap on how it's gone so far. So these two, which is the Celtic Tarot and the Celtic Wisdom Tarot, have been brilliant together. It's definitely a newfound pairing that I love. I've also discovered that I have enjoyed working with cards slightly more pippish, which has been an interesting discovery. Oh, look at the horses on those too. I love that. Yeah, it's just been a really nice, a really lovely combination of decks. Unfortunately, both are out of print, but I bought them both recently, so they are available if you look for them. And the combination of the two decks combined, I spent less than £40 on both decks combined, and this is a first edition. So I think with all these decks that are out of print, it's worth showing them, not as a way to gloat that I've got an out of print deck, but I wouldn't have known I wanted them if I hadn't have seen them on somebody else's channel. So for me, because you can find them if you look for them, that's why I don't mind sharing them. So I hope that comes across. But yeah, I've loved them both. There's been synchronicities of colour, synchronicities of the same cards coming out, synchronicities of imagery you can see, and the spirals. It's just everything I'm about. I absolutely love it. You can see how nicely they sit together. It has made me want to start looking into pip decks, and also even Marseille. I can feel that twinkling around the edges. So they're old decks pushing me into something new for sure. But what I also said that I was going to do with my decks this month following this tag was I was also going to bring in a modern deck. I was going to use the Reclaim Oracle, because to be honest, this month for me has been all about emotional literacy. I got to a point where I realised that I'd kind of reverted back to a place of of dissociation. I did struggle in the past really badly with dissociation and not being aware of anything really, of any feelings, not being able to feel, being totally shut down. And I did a lot of work to get past that, and I don't think I've ever stopped until recently, look at those together, to say to myself, am I still okay? And I realised that I'd fallen back into it without even realising. So this deck and emotion wheels, I've said about this before, and if you will have seen my healing video, you can see that I'm in like this realm of emotional literacy, emotion wheels, emotional release exercises daily, putting in the work daily to try and get past where I feel I am again, and using the reclaim, although it doesn't fit this tag, I knew it was a deck that would need to stay out, so it has, and it's been brilliant. It's just been really, really brilliant throughout the month, just for doing emotional release work and trying to get in touch with my emotions and to ask the question, literally, what am I feeling? What am I feeling here? It's just been a really nice prompt, so that's worked beautifully. Also, the guidebooks for these have worked really nicely. I mean, the Reclaim is just a little white book, and you think, well, is it going to be worth reading it? But surprisingly, these little descriptions of emotions can take you on different places. It's always worth reading. And the Courtney Davis Celtic Tarot book, you can see it's so old, the spine's broken, it's all beginning to fall apart. But some of this has been really interesting as well. I don't know as I agree with some aspects of some of the card descriptions. A couple I read were very sort of gender fixed, if that makes any sense, and I don't know as I necessarily agreed with it, but it's still been really interesting. And this guidebook for the Celtic Wisdom, oh my gosh, this is a beauty. This one, I've loved it so much. You can see there's lots in here. It's just been a really nice excuse. It's been a really nice excuse, really, just to get to spend some time with this guidebook. I haven't read it all the way through yet, but it is definitely something that I want to continue with next month. Really get to know this deck. It's a great guidebook, so that's been nice to find out as well. So this has been an example of these three decks working together. This is a tarot spread that I've just pulled. So these are the underlying energies are at the bottom of the deck. So these all the decks turned over. So these are all bottom of the deck cards. So these are the three cards I pulled. Just a simple card for the day, for my focus for where I am now. Again, I got the Emperor card. This is about the third time I've pulled this, even after a really deep shuffle and waiting for a jumper. So it makes sense to me. I'm kind of rebuilding my life. I'm asking myself, what do I want my empire to be? I'm reconnecting with my emotions, with my desires, trying to unblock numbness and to begin to connect with what I want and how I'm feeling. On the left is what I call my past position. These are cards pertaining to the past, or things to let go of, or they could be stumbling blocks, or what just might be slowing me down in the present. I pulled the Ace of Swords in this deck, which is the Celtic Tarot. The underlying energy card that I put above it also was the Ace of Swords. I thought it was the way I was thinking about the past and like regurgitating thoughts, but reading it in context with the rest of the spread, with an action card of the Page of Wands here and hope over here, I think this is about moving away from just thinking about things into a more active phase. So I don't think this is about anything to do with the past. I think this is to do with the present, about actually gripping the sword, just making the commitment to step into action. Action is a repeating message that I've had, so I'm taking this in context with the rest of the month's readings. To clarify, I pulled another couple of cards from the Reclaim, a couple of emotions around this, and I got worry and humiliation. You know, am I worried about like being in the spotlight, having people gang up on me again, being ridiculed that I'm trying to move on? Yes to all of that, and this is stopping me. So it is about actually gripping the sword handle and not giving in to these sort of thoughts. So this is very, although this is in a past position, it's very current. It's nothing from the past, it's where I'm at now. Page of Cups has come up the last 3 readings I've done as well. I think that this is my current significator card. It's water and earth, those are my 2 elements. It's about creativity, looking into where your creative desires are to build the path in front of you. Very, very important over the Emperor. And both Stalker cards both keep coming out, and the Hope card as well keeps coming out. So this is definitely moving away from worry of humiliation, gripping the sword, kind of embracing who I am, going after my desires and stepping into action. We've got fire here and hope, and if I go underneath these are all cards at the bottom of the deck. So hope, there's connection there, more connection. There is stability, more stability. That was a verse, so you know, to make sure I'm finding ways to make myself feel stable. Trust, yeah, definitely. Resentment, letting go of resentment. So you can see, if you delve underneath the bottom of the deck a little bit, you can kind of get some pointers on where to go forward. So I just wanted to share this as some of the ways that these 3 decks in particular have worked beautifully together. In my using my older decks before 2002 with the Reclaim, like I said I was going to, these 2 have worked really well. Like I said, they're really good for Stalker cards and repeating cards to really push that message home. I've been really surprised. They've also pulled me away from constantly applying meanings to the past, to other people. It keeps bringing me back to know that those readings are done. This is about you now, moving forward, which I think is why I keep getting the Hope card. I've been really pleasantly surprised. And then with the Reclaim in for emotional literacy work, that has been awesome. I've also been using these decks as a reading where I've pulled a card for current day, where I'm at now, to understand current issues, and I pulled one of each from this deck for current issues, the current position, almost using this deck almost like a clarifier. And again, stumbling blocks, and I've pulled a card from each as a stumbling block, and then a card for moving forward, like where can I go moving forward. So I've ended up with 6 cards for the day, which has been really, really nice to do. Using the 6 cards has also encouraged me to get to know these decks as well, because it's 3 cards a day, so that's been nice. Then around that I have pulled clarification cards for present day position, past position. So just getting a emotion word in there, future position. So just an emotion word to consider that reading with. And then the bottom of the deck cards have gone along the top, just to give me something to think about as an underlying energy that might be going on. So I've ended up with something that's kind of looked like that for the day, so that's been really good as well. And again, this combination of decks has been brilliant. I'll put a picture in of a reading that I did a couple of days ago like this as well. Now, the Ancestral Path Tarot, I've absolutely loved this one with my Brian Froud Fairy Oracle. Both of these are decks that I know I love. Do you know when you've got decks on your shelf that you look at and you think, I love those decks, but you just haven't really pulled them out to work with them? I don't know why with the Ancestral Path Tarot. The Brian Froud, I kind of know why, because I always felt like it was I don't know, too mischievous to want to pair, and I always like to pair my decks. And a couple of card pulls I'd pulled from this one alone, it was really harsh. There was a lot of reading in the guidebook as well, and I just didn't know whether I wanted to get into it. I kind of felt a little bit like, I don't know, like it didn't like me very much and didn't want to be paired and didn't want to be used as I use my decks. But in this tag, it's made me pair it, and whether the deck has softened to me or what, I don't know, but these two have worked beautifully. There's a lot of earthy colours in this deck, and I just think it fits really nicely with the borders around this one. And I've had some really lovely messages from these two decks, and I love the cups along there with the booty shot there. I just think they've just, I would not have put them together apart from this tag, but it's another pairing that I'm really liking. I mean, that there are synchronicities you can see. They just both feel very, very earthy to me, both of them. Kind of earth in air, if I was going to say anything about them. I love all the stars in this and the stars in this one as well. Wow, look at that. Yeah, so these two have been a surprise pairing that I love, that I wasn't expecting to love so much, but I do, and I just think they go really nicely together. Okay, and the Gill Tarot. Now, this just feels like the Caravan to me, because this was the first deck unboxing I ever did at the Caravan, and this lived down in the Caravan cupboard for a long time. We have had some fun this month, me and this deck. I did a reading over a few days, which I'm going to try and turn into a video, although I've got so much to say about it. I almost don't know how to even start putting that video together, to be honest, where the spirit of place got involved with my tarot reading with this deck, because it was in my bag. It was in my bag anyway, and I wasn't expecting to do a tarot reading outside, but because it was in my bag and I got pulled to it to do a tarot reading, it kind of got wrapped up in this spectacular adventure, 2-day adventure that I had in some of the most beautiful forests, new forests and new river paths that I found up here. So we've had a great time, me and this deck, and I feel really grateful for this challenge, for encouraging me to use this deck, because although I love it, again, it was one that was sitting slightly ignored on my shelf. Not anymore, because of course once you start doing adventure tarot with a deck, it bonds you with a deck through that very experience of adventuring together. I also visited Strata, Florida, which is an abbey that I found out about visiting Margaret's church. It mentioned on the information board there that the church where Margaret's family is buried was a stop-off point for monks on pilgrimage to the Abbey Strata, Florida. So that's the first time I'd heard of it. It's also where they say that the Nantios Cup, the Holy Grail, was taken, and where it was then transferred from Glastonbury to Strata, Florida, and then to Nantios Mansion. And I've kind of been caught up in not only adventures with this deck, but guys, I went to the library here and I picked up this Charlie Lovett book, The Lost Book of the Grail, which is a novel, but it talks about the Nantios Cup in here. And it's kind of all, it's been fantastic. I read this in a day. It was like I couldn't put it down book. I loved it. And I think I'm turning into a little bit of a grail hunt, holy grail hunter. I'm just so fascinated with anything to do with the Holy Grail. So with that in mind, and with using this deck, I went out to visit Strata, Florida, to see one of the places where it said the Nantios Cup was, and its links to the Holy Grail. And I took this deck with me, and I did a 3-card spread for the day, sat in the grounds of this amazing abbey, the ruins of the abbey, of what's left. It was just so incredible, the reading. And again, I got repeating cards. These decks this month have given me some incredible readings and repeating cards. The magic has been very strong throughout the challenge, and I just love it for that. So yeah, me and this deck, I would say we have well and truly bonded via adventure, and yeah, it's just been wonderful. So that's it, guys. That's what's happened so far with my adventures with some older decks in my collection. I've also enjoyed watching other people's responses to this tag. It made me realise that I could have included my soul cards and didn't, or I could have also included my Barbara Moore tarot and didn't. So those are possibly going to be decks that come out to play when I get home. But until then, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.